Okay, so everyone, let's talk about Don't Bother. If you aren't familiar with the series so far, I'm talking about every song on my debut album, With Regards from Far Away. Link in the description below if you want to listen to it. Otherwise, let's get started. So, last episode we talked about the song If Your Eyes Were an Ocean, the love song of the album. I mean, all the songs revolve around love in one way or another, but last time, the two characters in the story of the album were in love, and from the narrator's perspective, they had settled into something that was comfortable and nice, and at the end of that song, there was a repeating chord progression, which repeated about 4 times to indicate that they were going in circles, falling into a routine, and it ends on a minor chord. Sad, icky, not too pleasant sounding chord, which Don't Bother, the next song, the song we're talking about today, starts on. Oh my god. So if you couldn't tell, the last song and this song are super imperative to the album as a whole, because Don't Bother kind of acts as the pivot, right? The first 3 songs are particularly happy and upbeat and relatively positive, whereas the last 3 songs in the album towards the breakup are going to sound a little less happy than that. So when I started writing Don't Bother, I knew that it had to be... I knew how important it was to the context of the album as a whole, and so trying to explain what the song means is really important, or was really important to me, still is. So right off the bat, after the count off on the hi-hat from my drummer Frankie Paredes, shout out to you, buddy. I just punched myself in the face with my glasses. I didn't do that. Shout out to you, Frankie. Right off the bat, you can tell that everything just got a lot angrier. The first 3 songs were particularly acoustic focused, so I started the songs with an acoustic guitar, ended the songs with an acoustic guitar, especially the last song, and immediately the electric guitar, when it comes in, is supposed to represent that sudden shift from comfortable love to rocky road. Rocky road ice cream. It's supposed to symbolize that things all of a sudden aren't going super well. And sometimes in a relationship, again, I'm no expert. I got no PhD. From personal experience, sometimes a relationship will go sour in a matter of, a second or a day, or all it takes is one argument to set everything off. Again, with the last song, If Your Eyes Were an Ocean, Don't Bother is supposed to be as simple as that in capturing the emotion of this part of a relationship, because at this point in the relationship, nothing really matters in the argument when both people are super angry and all they want to do is throw blame or get mad about stuff that the other has said, yada yada yada. So the lyrics and the music kind of reflect that as best as they can. The lyrics are angry. The lyrics are angry, and I only chuckle because I don't really write a whole lot of angry stuff. I write a lot of passive-aggressive stuff. Good at that. And the music is angry too. Like I said before, with the acoustic guitar pretty much gone, the electric guitar is super prominent. The drums are big and driving. So sort of also in the line of representing how this stage of a relationship feels. Musically, there are a lot of starts and stops. Sometimes during a huge argument, it feels like both people involved are trying to overpower the other. So there will be one voice, and then there's a stop, and then there's another voice and a stop. It's a really long reach that I think I'm just going to move past. I can just edit this out later. Don't worry, Nick. Don't worry, Nick. They're not going to notice a thing. So the song is relatively simple in its raw emotion. The words aren't necessarily very articulate, and I think part of that is coming from a place of anger when I wrote the song. And this is a whole other topic entirely that I might get into in another video, but there's, at least with me, I've always had this personal argument with myself about whether songs should be super influenced by the experiences of the songwriter, or experiences of the songwriter should act as a framework for a song, or a songwriter can learn of the experience of someone else and use that as inspiration instead of flat out saying, like, writing information that pertain to personal experiences of theirs. I don't know how thick the line is between those two things for some people. For me, it's kind of blurry. I tend to write from places that are genuine to me, but the situations of the song aren't necessarily specific to my life. But when I sing them and when I write them, I know exactly what I'm talking about. And I guess that's sort of the point, because I'm the only one who's lived through the stuff that I've lived through. And you're the only one that's lived through the stuff that you've lived through. And if I'm writing stuff that you've never gone through, or at least writing stuff that is super specific to me that might be a little unrelatable, it might be a little harder to tap into that as a listener. So with that being said, I tried to be as angry with Don't Bother as I could without being too specifically angry, which is why the lyrics are kind of vague. So at the end of the song, towards the end of the song, after the second verse, I think, there's this break that leads to the end of the song, in which both the vocals and the guitars are doubled, essentially. So there's this big build-up, and when I recorded this song, I recorded 3 vocal tracks. So one is going up the middle, and then there are 2, one on each side. And by that I mean, if you listen to this song with headphones, you'll hear one voice in your left ear only and one voice in your right ear only, and then there's one up the center, which is to say it's in both headphones. It's really weird when you think about it, but when you listen to it, sometimes it just makes sense. Then I did the same thing with the lead guitar part. The song opens with the riff, so when I throw in the extra vocal parts too, I recorded more guitar parts. And all that was to represent what I mentioned earlier about 2 people in an argument trying to overpower one another. And so it just sounds like chaos, and it feels like chaos. And when I was recording that, and when I was listening back to that, I was trying to capture a feeling of being uncomfortable, and I hope that resonates with some people out there who have ever, like, listened to an argument or have been in the room during a really intense argument. So yeah, I don't want to keep you any longer. If you haven't listened to the song, or if you're interested in listening to the song, be sure to check out the album on Spotify or iTunes, SoundCloud. There's one more, cdbaby.com. Yeah, if you want to buy the copy, a copy for yourself, then go to CD Baby and buy it for $5. Whereas on iTunes, it's going to be $10 because they make their own prices. So if you only want 1 song or 2 songs, I totally understand. Everyone has their favorites. Then go to iTunes and buy. You can buy however many songs you want, whichever ones you want. Otherwise, you can listen to the whole thing for free on Spotify. And like I said, I have a SoundCloud where I have other songs too that aren't on those other platforms. So be sure to check it out. Instagram, Nick Scarpinato. Facebook, Nick Scarpinato Music. You guys have been the best. Even though I can't see any of your lovely faces. Any of your lovely faces. I know you're out there and I know you're watching, and it means a lot to me. So thanks a whole bunch. Thanks for tuning in. Be on the lookout for a new cover this Wednesday, and I will see you very soon.